Hi everyone, welcome back to Isa's Labyrinth. We've finally made it to Rhinoceros 3D. I mentioned in my first video that I'd be covering this software in detail on this channel. So this video marks the first entry to the long series we are gonna have on Rhinoceros. Today I'll be covering basic two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes along with some basic tools to manipulate them. So without wasting any more time, let's get on with the video. One thing you want to make sure is cleared and set before you start modeling in like any 3D modeling software is that your units are set to your preference. So for Rhino, we're just gonna type units in our command bar, press enter, and then we'll get a unit window pop. I've put up a screenshot of what I'm seeing right now. So basically you'll have different types of units available. When you click the model units tab, you'll see this drop down window where you'll have nanometers, miles, feet, meters, etc. So you can set your units according to your preference. I personally use feet because I find that is the easiest to use in my designs. So let's get straight into it. First we have our point. So you just like make a point and then I can scale it and move it around accordingly. So this is basically standard procedure. We don't really need to worry about this. Then we have our polyline or line. So there are two ways we can primarily access our tools in Rhino. The first one, of course, is the command bar, which I've already introduced you guys to. So I just typed in line. I can write B both sides to make a line like this. Or alternatively, I can just type line, select one end, and I can make a line however I want. Now let's say if I wanted to make this line a specific length. So in order to do that, I'd like choose the direction I want my line to be. For example, I want it to be towards the right. I'd face my cursor to the right, and then using the numbers on my keyboard, I'll type in the length I want my line to be. Let's say I want it 40 feet, right? So you can see that it's automatically kept it at 40 feet. So now if I press enter, I'll have a line that's 40 feet long. This is 40 feet long. So if I wanted to make sure this line is like aligned according to the axis, I turn on this setting called ortho. Now I can make a line again, line, and it automatically aligns it to our axes. So let's say I want to make this one 30 feet. It's made it 30 feet and now it's gonna ask me to accept this, so I'm just gonna press enter again and we have a line that's 30 feet. So yeah, those are the basic lines. Oh, now moving on, we have our polyline. So I'll just make the polyline. Let's say I want to make this 50 feet this way. Yep, so 50 feet. Do this. Now, let's say I want to close this shape, right? I could do this, but if we look at our command bar, you can see that I have various commands over here, such as close, mode, help, length, undo, etc. So if I let's say I want to use like a quicker method, instead of manually bringing my cursor over here, I can use my command bar and type in the letter C over here. C, right? Because C is underlined in close, so when I press C, it'll close the line. So you need to pay attention to the first underlined letter in the commands that pop up in the command bar, because if you type them, then it'll allow you to carry out certain functions. So yeah, this is our polyline. So we're moving on to the next shape now, which is our circle. Pretty standard. I can define my radius and my center point very easily. So let's say I want to make my radius 15 feet. So that's my circle. Okay, now we have our ellipse. So let's go to the ellipse and define the major axis. So I'll make my major axis. Actually, wait, let me turn on ortho for more symmetrical measurement. So more symmetrical drawing. So this is 40 feet. Let's make that, and let's make this 15 feet. Notice that to precisely make this ellipse according to my desired measurements, I needed to know the properties of an ellipse, that it has a major axis and a minor axis. So for Rhino is like a software where it requires you to have a substantial understanding of the geometric properties of certain shapes, because it's going to ask you to define certain values of different shapes. So you'll see that more in the video later. Moving on, now we have our arc, where standard arc. So I can define this as 25 feet. So yes, and then it'll ask me to define the angle this arc makes. So let's say, wait, let me turn on ortho. I want to make this like 30 degrees. So I'll press enter, and yeah, I'll have this arc which makes 30 degrees, whose tangents make 30 degree angle when they intersect. So yeah, that's our arc. There's something I want to bring your attention to as well, that there are different types of circles and arcs. For example, this is like a 2-point circle over here, and this is a 3-point circle. So like if we need to like make more accurate circles and like define their position more clearly, then these 3-point and 2-point arcs and circles really help us. Okay, now moving on, we have our circle, rectangle. We will select our rectangle from here, or we can type it in the command bar. So instead of like generically drawing our rectangle like this, if I wanted to define my measurements as all architects do, I'd press P over here to select the 3-point rectangle, and now it's asking me to define my width. So I'll say, let's make this 100 feet. So yeah, so it's asked me to confirm that. I've confirmed that, and I'll make my length 40 feet. And now it's asking me to confirm the rectangle, and I've confirmed it. So yeah, that's our rectangle. And if I wanted to make a polygon, then I'd press this command, or I type polygon. And the thing is that polygons have many sides, as we know. So if I want to define how many sides my polygon will have, I'll press N. Polygon. I'll press N. I I type n and I press enter, and now it's asking me to define how many sides our polygon is going to have. Let's make this an octagon. Let's make it 8 sides. So let's choose this, and now since this is a regular polygon, I'll define my length as 80 feet. So, yes, and now it's asking me to confirm the polygon, and I've confirmed it now. So that's how we do it. You must have noticed that there's like no triangle command specifically. That's because that like falls under the polygon command. If we press polygon and make our number of sides, I press N, make our number of sides 3, then I'll be able to make an equilateral triangle. So let's make this. So though there's a problem, if I wanted to make like a isosceles triangle or a scaling triangle, I'd have to manually do that through the line feature. So you just need to keep that in mind. If I wanted to make my 2D shape, let's say in the vertical in the X and Z axis instead of the X and Y axis only, then I have 2 different methods of doing that. First, I can come to the shapes over here, cascade the tab, and I can select this icon with green and red lines going through it. So if I select this, come to our plane over here, now you can see it's making our rectangle. So let's define this as 15 feet, enter, and let's make this 100 feet tall, and I'm just gonna press enter over here. So now we have a vertical shape, as you can see. Alternatively, if I wanted a quicker method, I could use our right view over here, use our normal rectangle over here, 3.1. Let me just press P. Okay, now we have our rectangle over here. Let's make this 100 feet. Should be, yeah, 100 feet, and let's make this 20 feet tall. So we have a X and Z axis rectangle over here. Okay, now moving away from our 2D shapes, let's get on with our 3D shapes. We can access our 3D shapes from this tab over here. So let's say I wanted to make a rectangular prism, so press P over here so I can make it more measurable. So let's make this 100 feet, enter, let's make this 100 feet as well, let's make this 200 feet. Actually, yeah, let's make this one. Yes. So yeah, that's our rectangular prism over here. And yeah, I can do the same with other shapes as well, like for example our cylinder. Let's define our radius as, actually no, that's too big, 50 feet. Yes, and our height, let's make it the same as this. Yes, so that's how we make our, that's a way of making our 3D shapes in Rhino. As you notice, I've made my shapes a bit too close to each other. So let's say I want to move these shapes, but I don't want to make them entirely again. So I can just select these, right? And I can move them using the gumball feature over here, which is activated from the bottom over here. Alternatively, we could use move, the command move over here. I can press this, I can use the edge over here, and I can move it however I want. that if we want to make our 2D shape 3D, we can let's make a 2D shape first. So let's make this random shape with our polyline. So let's say if I wanted to make this 3D, I'd use this command called extrude curve. So it's asking me to select a curve to extrude. So I'll select this, and now I can define a height of this shape. So let's say 40 feet. And yeah, now I have this custom 3D shape. So let's say if I wanted to not have the top, what I could do is I could hold shift and control, select this surface and delete this, and I could delete this as well. And yeah, so I have a hollow shape. Or alternatively, I could, let's go back to extrude curve. Let's select this. I could press S, enter, and now when I define a height, let's say 40 feet again, I have no top and bottom. Now let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Now let's say I want to make this smaller, right? I think I've made this a bit too big. So there are different ways I can do that. Let's say if I wanted to morph this, I could. So let's do 40. Actually, that's too much. I can morph this accordingly like this to make it thinner, and I can morph it this way as well. I can morph it this way as well. So yeah, those are some things I can do with the gumball feature. But let's say if I wanted to like scale it uniformly, so then I'd use the scale command. I'm selecting this object, and now I'm using a reference point, this one. So I select two reference points, and now I can scale it accordingly. So let's say if I make it how many feet? 150? Yeah, 150 feet. We'll make the height 150 feet. So yeah, now I've made it smaller. I'm gonna relocate this using the gumball. Okay, yeah, now it's relocated. So yeah, let me just keep these together. Now I'm just gonna introduce you to an interesting command called the boolean union. So if I select these two shapes, wait, let me just make this a bit closer to this. Select these two shapes and press this. I can make these two shapes one. So it's right now creating the meshes of both. And yeah, now these two shapes are going to be considered as one body. So when we're going to be doing complex buildings in architecture, this is very useful. Now we'll play around with this a bit more. Let's say I wanted to make some annotations on this. So yeah, for the annotations, we're not going to do something crazy. We'll just do a normal 2-point arc. So we'll make it like this. And yeah, that should do. I didn't define the measurements for this because I just wanted to showcase something to you. So let's say if I wanted to get rid of this part, right? You need to know that like this shape is completely different from this curve over here. So if I wanted to make this a part of this and like remove this, I need to use this command called split face. So I'll select this face to split, and enter, and now you see there'll be this option to select a curve. So I'll select this curve. Okay, enter, and now it's split it. It's creating the meshes right now, but just gonna wait till it's done. Yeah, I think it should be done. Oh. Yeah, so it's done. So as we can see, this is split. So if I can select the surface now, because it's separate, select this, and I'll use this command called push pull, and now I can take this. Let's Control Z that, push pull, take this all the way to the bottom to completely cut this off. So yeah, this is useful in removing stuff and making more custom shapes like this. So yeah, that wraps up our video. So please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel so that I can continue to bring you more Rhino tutorials. So yeah, I'll see you later.